Wisdom beyond 60, dear everyone. Imagine this for a moment. You've worked your entire life, saving, planning, and trusting that Social Security would be your safety net. Then you wake up to the news that in 2026, the cost of living adjustment, the so-called COLA, will rise only 2.7%. At first, that might sound like a relief, a little extra cushion. But here's the truth that stops people in their tracks. Medicare Part B premiums are expected to jump 11.6% at the very same time. What does that really mean? It means the small raise in your check is already swallowed before you even touch it. It means that the promise of protection feels thinner than ever, and the math just doesn't add up. Think about it. Retirees are projected to face lifetime medical expenses of up to $172,500. That's not some distant, abstract figure. It's a real price tag attached to the years you hope to spend in peace and dignity. And the question that lingers, heavy and unsettling, is this. If COLA can't keep pace with the rising tide of healthcare costs, what happens to the security you thought was guaranteed? This isn't just about numbers. It's about whether the choices you make today will decide if you can fill your prescriptions without hesitation, whether you can see the doctor you trust, or whether you'll find yourself forced to cut corners on things that truly matter. The gap between promise and reality is widening, and too few people are talking about it out loud. That silence is dangerous. And that's exactly why we need to bring it into the light, right here, right now. At Beyond 60 Wisdom, we are not here to sugarcoat. We are here to help you see clearly, so you can prepare wisely. Because once you know the truth, you can't unhear it, and you shouldn't want to. You deserve to understand what lies ahead, and you deserve to have the tools to respond. This is the kind of knowledge that keeps families afloat, that turns worry into preparation, that gives back the control so many feel slipping through their fingers. So I ask you, don't look away. Don't assume that someone else will solve this puzzle for you. Stay with me to the end of this video, because what you'll discover might change the way you see your future and the steps you take tomorrow morning. And if this matters to you, if you want more conversations like this that cut through the noise and speak directly to your reality, I need you to subscribe right now. That simple click is not just for you. It fuels us to continue creating these videos, to keep shining a light on the issues that shape your life after 60. Now let me leave you with a thought, a little challenge to spark your reflection and your voice in the comments below. Here's the question. If your monthly Social Security increase was completely absorbed by higher Medicare costs, which path would you take? A. Adjust your daily budget, cutting other expenses to stay afloat. B. Seek out new ways to save, invest, or supplement your income before retirement. Comment with A or B down below, and let's see how our community thinks about this pressing dilemma. Your answer might inspire someone else who's facing the very same crossroad. When we talk about retirement, most people think of freedom, peace, and enjoying the rewards of a lifetime of hard work. But there's a reality that often hits harder than expected. Healthcare costs grow far faster than the modest adjustments built into Social Security. A 2 or 3% increase in benefits sounds helpful on paper, but when premiums, prescriptions, and hospital visits climb at double or triple that pace, the numbers simply don't balance out. What makes it even more challenging is that these increases are not luxuries. They are tied to survival, to well-being, to the very ability to live with dignity. Consider what this means for someone in their late 60s or 70s. The COLA adjustment might add a few dozen dollars to their monthly check, yet the jump in Medicare Part B premiums can erase that before it even arrives in their bank account. Then add the rising price of medications, co-pays for doctor visits, and the hidden costs of long-term care. Suddenly, what was supposed to be a stable foundation looks more like shifting sand. Many retirees are forced into impossible decisions. Do they skip a treatment, delay a checkup, or cut back on groceries just to cover another medical bill? These are choices no one should have to make, yet they are happening every day. The deeper issue is that healthcare inflation doesn't slow down. New technologies, new drugs, longer life expectancy, all of these add up to a system where the cost of staying healthy grows year after year. For someone relying mainly on Social Security, that gap widens relentlessly. A study estimated that the average retiree could spend more than $170,000 on healthcare alone across a lifetime. Think about that number. It's more than many people's entire retirement savings, and it doesn't include housing, food, or the joys of living. It is simply the price tag of managing health as the years go on. This mismatch between benefit growth and medical expenses is not an accident. It's baked into the structure. COLA is tied to a general measure of inflation that doesn't fully reflect the unique spending patterns of older adults. While seniors spend less on transportation or clothing, they spend far more on healthcare. That means the official adjustment is always chasing the wrong target. It's like trying to measure rain with a broken ruler. The result looks precise, but tells the wrong story. And while a few percentage points might seem small in the short term, over a decade, those missed adjustments add up to thousands of lost dollars, enough to push many households into financial strain. What makes this discussion so pressing is the human side. Behind every statistic is a family, a couple, or an individual sitting at the kitchen table late at night, looking at bills and wondering what corners can be trimmed without losing quality of life. These aren't abstract debates about policy. They are real choices about whether someone can afford both the medication that keeps them stable and the fresh food that nourishes them. For too many, the gap means relying on children, draining savings, or slipping quietly into debt. And yet, awareness is the first step. If we don't name the problem, if we don't speak honestly about how rising medical costs erode the security Social Security was meant to provide, then nothing changes. This is not about blame, it's about clarity. Seniors deserve to know what lies ahead so they can prepare, adjust, and demand policies that reflect reality. It is not fair to expect decades of workers to watch their promised support shrink in power with every passing year while their health demands grow. As we explore this further, keep one thought in mind. The gap between COLA and healthcare is not just financial, it's emotional. It weighs on people's sense of safety and stability. It reminds them that even after a lifetime of contribution, their security feels fragile. And that's why these conversations matter, because only by facing the truth directly can retirees and families begin to plan differently and protect themselves against the storm that is already at the doorstep. For millions of Americans who depend on Social Security and supplemental security income, predictability is everything. Bills, rent, prescriptions, and groceries all follow a rhythm, and when that rhythm is broken, even briefly, it can send shockwaves through a household budget. That is why the changes in the SSI payment schedule are so unsettling. In September, for example, payments will not arrive on the first of the month because that date falls on Labor Day. Instead, the check will be issued at the end of August. On paper, it looks like people are getting paid early, but in practice, it creates a long, silent gap in September when nothing arrives. If you have already spent part of that money on August bills, you are left facing weeks with no deposit, no cushion, and no clear way to bridge the gap. This kind of disruption is not a one-time inconvenience. Similar adjustments will ripple through October, November, and December, carrying into 2026. For those who live on tight margins, this is not a minor scheduling quirk. It is a serious challenge. Most seniors set their budgets down to the dollar, knowing exactly which bill is paid on which date. When the calendar shifts, obligations do not wait. Rent is still due on the 1st, utilities expect payment on schedule, and groceries never pause. The mismatch between when money arrives and when it is needed can lead to late fees, strained credit, or the painful choice of what necessity to postpone. As if that were not enough, another policy has added new pressure. Since late July 2025, the Social Security Administration has begun withholding up to half of monthly benefits from individuals who received overpayments in the past and have not signed repayment agreements. Many recipients are caught off guard because the error may have happened years earlier and often without their knowledge. Yet the impact is immediate and harsh. Imagine counting on a set amount every month only to discover overnight that it has been cut in half. For many, that is the difference between stability and crisis. It means cutting prescriptions in half, skipping meals, or leaning on children already stretched thin. The emotional toll of these changes is heavy. Seniors who believe their benefits were steady suddenly face uncertainty. The trust they placed in the system feels shaken. A deposit arriving early one month and disappearing the next, or a sudden withholding with little explanation, breeds anxiety that lingers. Instead of security, there is fear. Fear that the rules might change again. Fear that the money they worked decades to earn could be reduced without warning. Fear that their independence is slipping away. These challenges expose a deeper truth about Social Security. It is not only about the amount of money, but about timing, reliability, and communication. When those elements falter, the consequences fall hardest on the people least able to adjust. It forces retirees into the role of financial strategists, juggling dates and debts with little margin for error. It also highlights how vulnerable many households are when they depend on a single source of income that can be altered by administrative decisions. Still, awareness gives power. Knowing that payments will shift or that overpayment recovery rules have changed allows people to prepare, even if the adjustments are difficult. It encourages families to talk openly about budgeting, to set aside small reserves if possible, and to stay alert to notices from the SSA. While none of these steps erase the strain, they offer a measure of control in a system that can feel unpredictable. The bigger message is clear. Retirement security is not only measured in dollars, but in trust. When that trust is shaken, the impact reaches far beyond the bank account. It touches dignity, confidence, and peace of mind. When we face the reality that Social Security adjustments and shifting SSI payments may not be enough, the conversation must turn toward what individuals and families can actually do to prepare. The truth is, financial stability in retirement rarely comes from one source alone. It comes from a combination of habits, strategies, and decisions made over many years. Even if you are already retired, it is never too late to make small changes that add up to greater security. One of the most important steps is to maximize the use of retirement accounts such as 401ks and IRAs. These accounts are designed not just to hold your money, but to help it grow with tax advantages. Contributing consistently and catching up if you are over 50 allows you to take advantage of compound growth even in the later years of your working life. It is not about chasing risky investments, but about making steady, intentional contributions that protect you when Social Security falls short. For those who are already retired, the focus shifts toward managing what you have with clarity. That means building a household budget that reflects the new realities of medical costs, insurance premiums, and shifting payment dates. It can be uncomfortable to look closely at every expense, but it is the only way to make sure your money stretches across the entire month. This might mean setting aside a small emergency fund, even if it takes time to build, so that an early SSI payment in August does not leave you stranded in September. It might mean cutting out certain non-essential subscriptions or renegotiating bills with service providers, not because you want to live smaller, but because you want to live smarter. There are also programs and resources that many retirees overlook. States and local communities often provide assistance with food, housing, or medical expenses that can ease the burden. Some seniors qualify for subsidies that lower the cost of prescriptions or reduce utility bills. These programs are not charity. They are tools built into the system to support people who have contributed for decades. Learning about them and taking advantage of them is a practical step toward maintaining independence. Another essential strategy is to diversify your sources of income wherever possible. For some, this may mean part-time work, not necessarily out of necessity, but as a way to stay active while supplementing income. For others, it may mean exploring ways to turn a lifetime of skills or hobbies into small but meaningful income streams. Whether it is tutoring, consulting, crafting, or even volunteering in roles that offer stipends, these opportunities provide more than money. They provide purpose. The sense of contribution and engagement can be just as valuable as the financial reward. It is also wise to revisit your approach to healthcare costs themselves. While you cannot control the rise in Medicare premiums, you can make choices about how you use care. Staying consistent with preventative checkups, managing lifestyle choices around diet and exercise, and comparing insurance options during open enrollment can all make a measurable difference. Small steps in managing health wisely often translate into fewer emergencies and lower out-of-pocket expenses in the long run. Perhaps the most overlooked strategy is simply staying informed. Policies shift, payment calendars change, and new programs are introduced. Retirees who actively follow these developments are better equipped to adapt before they are caught by surprise. That might mean reading official SSA updates, attending local workshops for seniors, or leaning on trusted advisors to explain changes in plain language. Knowledge does not erase the challenges, but it reduces the fear that comes from feeling blindsided. The bottom line is this: financial resilience in retirement is not about having endless resources. It is about making thoughtful choices, protecting what you already have, and preparing for the unexpected. It is about refusing to be passive in the face of change, and instead taking steps, however small, that add up to greater stability and peace of mind. When Social Security falls short, your habits, your preparation, and your willingness to adapt become the safety net that carries you through. And that is a power you still hold, no matter where you are in your journey. When we reach this point in the conversation, it is no longer just about numbers, policies, or even strategies. It becomes about something far more personal. What kind of life do we want to create for ourselves in the years ahead? And how do we protect that vision when the systems around us shift? Many older Americans are discovering that security is not guaranteed, and yet within that hard truth lies an invitation to think differently about retirement. Instead of relying only on Social Security or Medicare, we must ask deeper questions about how to live with dignity, how to preserve independence, and how to adapt when the world changes faster than we expected. One of the most important realizations is that financial planning is not just financial, it is emotional. When a retiree sees their benefits withheld or their payments arrive on an unpredictable schedule, the sense of control begins to fade. That fear is not only about paying bills, but about the loss of stability, of certainty, of confidence in the future. And yet acknowledging this fear openly can transform it into motivation. The real measure of retirement security is not the absence of challenges, but the willingness to face them with courage and to plan for what can be controlled. That means taking the lessons we have explored about saving, about understanding the system, about adjusting our choices, and using them not just as financial tactics, but as ways of reclaiming power. This is also where the human side of the story becomes most visible. Behind every policy change, there are grandparents raising grandchildren, widows learning to manage on their own, and families doing their best to honor the sacrifices of those who came before them. When Social Security checks shrink or arrive out of sync, it is not an abstract inconvenience. It is the reason a grandmother has to choose between filling her prescription or buying a birthday gift for her grandchild. It is the reason a couple in their 70s quietly eats smaller meals so they can stretch their food budget to the end of the month. These are not just financial adjustments. They are daily decisions that shape the quality of life in profound ways. That is why conversations like this must end not with despair, but with an opening. The question we leave on the table is not whether the system is perfect, it is not, but how we, as individuals and communities, can respond. Can we find strength in sharing knowledge with one another? Can we take pride in preparing our households so that our children and grandchildren see examples of resilience? Can we push for policies that reflect the realities of aging, where medical costs outpace general inflation? Every one of those actions begins with awareness, and awareness begins with honest conversations like the one we are having here. So as you think about COLA, about Medicare premiums, about SSI schedules, and withheld benefits, step back and ask yourself, what does security really mean to you? Is it just about the size of a check? Or is it about the ability to face uncertainty with clarity and calm? Is it about avoiding fear or about building a plan that gives you strength in spite of it? These are the reflections that carry us forward. And while this discussion has focused on the challenges, let it also serve as a reminder of opportunity. It is never too late to learn, to prepare, to adjust, or to advocate for yourself and your loved ones. In the end, Social Security is just one part of the picture. The rest is shaped by the choices you make, the conversations you start, and the vision you hold for your later years. That is the legacy worth building, not just surviving retirement, but shaping it with wisdom, courage, and purpose. As we bring all of this together, the picture becomes clear. Social Security increases are falling short of the rising costs of healthcare. Medicare premiums continue to climb, and payment schedules are shifting in ways that can disrupt lives. For seniors who depend on these benefits, it can feel overwhelming, even unfair. Yet within this difficult reality lies an important truth. While we cannot control the policies, we can control how we prepare, how we adapt, and how we respond. The lesson is not to give in to fear, but to find strength in planning, in community, and in a mindset that values resilience over despair. Retirement was never meant to be lived on autopilot. It requires wisdom, awareness, and action. The deeper message for older adults is this: your security is not only measured by the size of a monthly check, but by the choices you make every day. Creating a clear budget, building even a small emergency cushion, staying informed about benefit changes, and seeking out available resources are not small steps. They are acts of empowerment. These choices reduce uncertainty, restore confidence, and give you back the sense of control that shifting policies sometimes take away. And remember, your worth is not defined by what you receive, but by the wisdom and experience you carry. That is something no government agency can diminish. The positive lesson here is that challenges can become opportunities for growth. By facing these financial realities head-on, seniors can strengthen not only their stability, but also their independence and dignity. Applying this lesson means turning awareness into action, reviewing your expenses, talking with family about future plans, seeking trustworthy advice, and remembering that preparation today eases worry tomorrow. This mindset transforms fear into clarity and worry into direction. Now, I'd like to ask you a simple question. If you were faced with a sudden reduction in your monthly benefits, would you choose to tighten your spending to adjust, or would you look for new ways to supplement your income? Please share your thoughts in the comments so that others can learn from your perspective and perhaps find inspiration in your choices. And if you found this video meaningful, I warmly invite you to support our journey together. If what we shared today spoke to you, please subscribe to Beyond 60 Wisdom. Leave a comment with your reflections, share this video with friends so they too can prepare with knowledge and strength, and know that your support gives us the energy to keep creating valuable, heartfelt content for you. Thank you deeply, from the bottom of our hearts, for being part of this community. Together, let us continue to walk with wisdom, courage, and connection, making each day after 60 not just manageable, but truly meaningful.